Hey YouTube, Cityside75 here, and I thought today we could troubleshoot my old Intellivision from 1980. If you saw my other video, my Christmas pickups video where I brought home my old Intellivision, I mentioned that I had this Intellivision II that I got in '84, and then this Intellivision I that we actually picked up in the Christmas of 1980. And I knew there was something wrong with it, but I couldn't remember what was wrong with it. And so today I decided to plug it in and put a game in it here, and I'll show you what it's doing. So I'm putting in bowling here. Switch it on, and you can see we get this. It almost looks like it's, not tuning in properly, but it is actually tuned in. So I looked at that and I tried to switch, mess with the channel 3/4 switch and check my coax cable and all that. Everything there is good. And then I just remembered, you can kind of see it already. See, it's jumping around a little bit. If I give this thing some taps, take a look at that. And if you do it enough, every now and then you can actually get it to come on. That's assuming that the cartridge is making a good connection in there, which it might not be. We'll see here. But as you can see, it looks... Oh, there we go. Yeah, see, there we go. It looks like something is either loose or, maybe there's a cold solder joint. I may or may not have done some childish and irresponsible things to this. Not talking about that. But yeah, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to take this out to the workshop outside, or the workbench outside, and we're going to see if we can figure out what's going on with this. Alright, we're out here in the garage, on the workbench, and we're going to go ahead and open this Intellivision up. In all my years of owning this as a kid, I never had the courage to open it up. As a kid, these kind of things were the expensive things in the house, and I certainly didn't feel confident going in and opening this up. I remember it started having problems a couple of years before we finally got maybe a year before we finally got the Intellivision II. And it used to black out a lot. You'd be going along, and then all of a sudden the game would black out. And eventually I noticed that by hitting it, it would, blink back on sometimes. And so then that became the preferred method for dealing with the blackout problem. And I'm sure that did wonders for it. So yeah, these screws have never been undone in 34 years now. Well, I guess 33. It was the Christmas of 1980. We just had the Christmas of 2013. So yeah, 33 years. And there's spider webs in one of these. It's always pleasant. Pull those out, and let's see if this thing comes open. Usually I look up a quick YouTube video or something about how to open this thing up, but I didn't do it here, and maybe I should have, because I'm sure there's a spring in this reset switch, but nope. Okay. There we go. Hopefully that's in focus on the camera. Alright, so let's see here. We got our power switch over there. Looks like we got our power supply over here. Got a switch, a plug here. What I'm doing right now is I'm just looking for potential weak spots. So remember, when I hit the system, it blinks and sometimes it comes in and out. So logic would dictate that it would be something loose or a bad connection or something like that. So I'm just going to give it kind of a look over here. So this looks loose, but that doesn't seem to be too loose, and all the wires look solid. There's our switch. Okay, so we've got this plug here. Let's go ahead and pop this one off real quick. So having done a lot of work on my pinball machine, I do know that these connections can really corrode over time, and these can go bad. So far, I'm not seeing anything that's too loose. Alright, so then next I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, let's see, maybe I'll test it with this off and see what happens now. See if I can locate the spot a little bit more directly here. Alright, so stay tuned. Alright, we're back in the game room here, and I've got this Intellivision plugged in now with the cover off. I started kind of tapping around on here, and as soon as I started doing it, I started noticing that pretty much wherever I tapped, it would cause the screen to jump. I started tapping like on this power supply, and it was jumping from that. I'm like, oh, that must be it. Then I started tapping on this plug, and I'm like, that must be it. Then I started tapping over here, like, that must be it. Then I started tapping over here, just on the metal, and I'm like, now wait a second. How can it be, blinking in response to tapping in all those different places? So, I kind of worked it over, started tapping lighter and lighter, trying to figure out if, one section of this was more sensitive than the others. I assumed it's obviously something that's very, sensitive, or again, like a cold solder joint or something like that is what I'm thinking it could be. And so instead of tapping, I started kind of pushing down on stuff, and when I started doing that, I started noticing, okay, pushing here, nothing's happening. Pushing here, nothing's happening. Pushing here, and a little something's happening. But then, touching this capacitor, just barely even touching it, and everything's going crazy. So I am going to pursue the angle that the capacitor itself, it looks good. It doesn't show any signs of leakage or anything like that. I mean, I understand that it's 30 plus years old, and so it may just be expired, and if it is, I'll just order a new one. But I'm going to go ahead and check those solder joints real quick and see if maybe it's got cold solder joints not making a good connection, and therefore just very sensitive to any movement or anything like that. So let's go ahead and I'm going to take the Intellivision back out in the workshop, and we'll go ahead and take a look at it up there. All right, we're back in the workshop here, and I'm getting ready to pull this board off. I've got the perfect tool here. This just got this for Christmas. So it's a 1/4 inch hex head bolts. Pulling off right now. I'm just going to go ahead and pull this one off too. And then I already disconnected this ribbon cable. And now let's go ahead and just disconnect this plug. There we go. And then we got one more plug here. Let's see if this comes out. There we go. All right, it's out. So now if I take a look at it here, I do see what looks like potentially cold solder joints or cracks in the solder. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see that or not, but especially on this side, which is the large capacitor, there definitely seems to be some cracks on that. So we're going to go ahead, I'm going to warm up the soldering iron, and we're going to go ahead and maybe just resolder all of those connections, at least the ones for the capacitors, and see if that does the trick. So catch you in a few. It's chilly out here. I don't know if you can see my breath when I'm talking, but it's cold enough. I think it's about 32 degrees Fahrenheit out here right now. Alright, so the soldering iron is warmed up here. Okay, so let's go ahead and prime the tip here. And we're just going to go ahead and touch each one of these. And reflow that solder. I'm going to go ahead and actually just put a little bit more solder on this one. There we go. Yeah, that looks good. Same thing again, I'm going to prime the tip here. Just reflow that solder. Okay. And we'll go ahead and do this other capacitor as well. The whole board could probably stand a once over, but let's go ahead and start with these parts and see if we can at least narrow down the problem. Okay, so I refreshed all 4 of those solder joints. I'm going to go ahead and reinstall this in the Intellivision, take it back inside to the warmth, and see if that helped anything. Alright, we're back here in the game room again, and let's go ahead and take a look here. So we'll go ahead and switch it on. Okay, we got nothing here. Now, I noticed that the reset button fell out, and so I'm going to go ahead and try hitting reset here. Yeah, I thought that might work. And look at that. Comes right up. I'm going to go ahead and tap on the capacitors there. I don't want to tap on them too hard, obviously, but about what I was doing before. Rock solid. Tap around on everything else. Not a jiggle, not a judder. I think that we can call this one fixed. So I'm going to go ahead and put it back together, and then I've got a few gameplay videos coming up. So thanks for watching. I hope that if you've got a Intellivision with a similar issue, that maybe this video can help somebody else out there. So thanks for watching.